Hello and good evening to you all. Welcome to another session of Daily News Simplified. My name is Shashank Singh and we are here to take up the news analysis from picked up news or selected news from The Hindu, Indian Express and Business Line newspaper dated 30th January 2024, New Delhi edition. And as per the practice, we have distributed or segregated our discussion into three parts. First would be prelims, second would be mains, and third would be summary. So in prelims, we have taken up first question, which is based on the writ jurisdiction, because there is a news related to events going on in the West Bengal High Court and Supreme Court intervention into this matter. Secondly, we have taken up a question based on United Nations Relief and Works Agency, that is UNRWA. As you all know, there is an ongoing conflict between Israel and Hamas, and Gaza region is witnessing this conflict. So this agency has been created particularly for the relief works related to Palestinian refugees, and there are recent developments related to this agency. So we have taken up this topic. Thirdly, there was a news article related to a phenomena which scientists call Humboldt Enigma. So there is an explanation regarding what it is, what are the key concepts, how it is significant. So we have taken up one prelims question based on Humboldt Enigma. For mains, we have taken up two topics, that is public health care, because there is a news article talking about the populism in Indian polity and the status or linkages with the status of public health care in India. Secondly, there is news which is talking about the visit of Indian Foreign Secretary to the country of Bhutan. So we have taken up issues and aspects related to India-Bhutan relation. From summary perspective, we have taken up three news articles. One talks about the early nutrition impacts, the cognitive development. This article is about correlation between the nutritional level and cognitive development of children. Secondly, we have taken up the topic of the new public-private partnership to grow seafood outside the sea, that is in labs. Thirdly, there was a news article in Business Line which talks about the delay or slow pace of green aviation fuel being integrated into Indian aviation sector. So we have taken up a summary based on that news article. So let's begin our discussion with the prelim section. And the first topic that we discussed is based on this news, which featured on page number 1 of the Hindu newspaper. Now, in West Bengal, there was a case related to getting admission in medical colleges through fake mark sheet. Now, what happened there, that West Bengal High Court entertained this case by using their power under Article 226. And what is it? This article relates to the writ jurisdiction of the High Court. Now what happened there, that a single judge bench and a divisional bench gave conflicting orders regarding the same case. One bench said that this case should be transferred to CBI, while other bench said that this case should be investigated by state police. Now, things took a bad turn when judges of these two bench get into mudslinging to an extent that one judge said that the other one, who is referring the case to state police, has given this decision in a non-partisan manner and has some political allegiance to the ruling party of the state of West Bengal. So taking cognizance of the events, Supreme Court under the 5-judge bench led by Chief Justice has taken a suo motu cognizance and has taken over this case because of this ongoing mudslinging and turn of events which is going on in the state of West Bengal. Now you know that writ, the Article 32 and Article 226 talks about the writ power of the Supreme Court and the High Court respectively. Now Article 32 especially says that one can reach out directly to the Supreme Court if their fundamental right has been infringed upon under Article 32. So Supreme Court can issue a writ order to take up a case related to infringement of the fundamental rights. Same is true for the High Court, that is under Article 226. Now you might know that there are 5 kinds of writ. First is habeas corpus. Second is mandamus. Third one is prohibition. Fourth is certiorari. And fifth one is quo warranto. So UPSC has been asking question based on the writ jurisdiction of the Supreme Court and High Court. As you can see here in 2022, they have asked about the application of mandamus. That is one of the writ that can be issued by High Court and Supreme Court. So we have taken up the question based on writ, the practice question. You have to identify the correct statements. Now, statement 1 says that the power to issue writ emanates from right to constitutional remedies. Now, you know, Article 32 talks about the constitutional remedies and it empowers a citizen to directly approach Supreme Court in case of their fundamental right, infringement of their fundamental rights. So, this statement is correct as it does emanates from right to constitutional remedies, that is Article 32. The second statement says writ jurisdiction of Supreme Court of India is wider than High Courts. Now this statement is incorrect. Why? Because as you know, Article 32 empowers citizen to reach to Supreme Court and Supreme Court can use its writ jurisdiction in case of infringement or violation of fundamental right. However, in Article 226, writ can be issued or used even in case of violation of ordinary laws. So apart from the fundamental rights, High Court can entertain or can use or citizen can approach High Court for a writ jurisdiction even in case of violation of ordinary laws. So High Court has much wider writ jurisdiction when compared to Supreme Court because they can only entertain it in case of infringement of fundamental rights. Third statement says the writ jurisdiction of Supreme Court and High Court is part of basic structure. Now this statement is correct because there was a important case, that is Chandra Kumar case, which was primarily related to the tribunals. But in that particular judgment, Supreme Court said that the writ jurisdiction of Supreme Court and High Court are part of basic structure and they cannot be taken away. So this third statement is correct because of this verdict in Chandra Kumar case. So as we had to find the correct statements, our answer would be B, that is only 2, 1 and 3. Inspiration for the next question comes from this news as we discussed, which featured on page number 13 of Indian Express newspaper. Now, as we discussed that UNRWA is a one of its kind agency under United Nations, which is entrusted with the rehabilitation and welfare of the Palestinian refugees. It has a very specific role to play. Now, Israel has just raised an objection and has accused UNRWA that its staff member were involved in the Hamas attack on Israel. And owing to that allegation, 8 Western countries, including United States, who were main source of the funding of UNRWA, that is more than 50% of funding of UNRWA used to come from these 8 nations, Western countries led by US. Now these countries have decided to stop the funding of UNRWA. Now United Nations is concerned regarding the rehabilitation, relief and support work which it is taking up in the Gaza, and has appealed these countries to reconsider their decision and promised that they will take action if they will find any of its employee is involved in that Hamas attack over Israel. So this agency was created in the year 1949, 49, after the 1948 Arab-Israel war. You can also call it Palestinian war, which led to the large number of Palestinian refugees. So this organization was created by UNGA, that is United Nations General Assembly, in the year 1949, and it takes up various welfare and relief measures for Palestinian refugees, which includes the relief measures in the social sectors like health, education, and it also provides microfinance both in and outside the refugee camps. But scope is narrow, mainly focus upon the Palestinian refugees. So important international organization, especially those which are featuring in news, are a recurring theme in UPSC. As you can see, in 2015 they have asked a question based on Amnesty International. So we have taken up a practice MCQ based on the United Nations Relief and Works Agency, that is UNRWA, and you have to identify correct statements. Now statement 1 says United Nations Relief and Works Agency was established after 1967 Arab-Israel war. Now, as you know, we have discussed, it was established in the year 1949. Yes, the name of war is correct, but year is incorrect. So this statement is incorrect. Secondly, it says UNRWA is mandated to operate exclusively in Palestine and Israel region. Now, this is a very significant information that you should look upon, that UNRWA operates in 5 regions: Jordan, Lebanon, Syria, Gaza Strip, and the West Bank, including East Jerusalem. So nearly all the bordering area it is covering. It is not limited to Israel and Palestine. Okay, even bordering area like Jordan, Lebanon, etc., they are working in these 5 regions also. Now here you can find other details related to this organization in the PDF, and how it is different from UNHCR. That first thing, the assistance for Palestinian refugees outside these areas, these mentioned 5 areas, falls under the purview of UNHCR, which was established in the year 1950 as the primary agency for aiding refugees globally. Now you know it is exclusively, UNRWA is exclusively dedicated to assisting refugees from a specific region or conflict. while this is not the case with the UNHCR. So as far as question is concerned, the second statement is also incorrect because it serves in it serves in 5 areas, not specifically in Palestine and Israel. So as you had to find the correct statements, our answer would be D, that is neither one nor two. Now this news article featured on the Hindu Science page, and it talks about a specific phenomena which scientists call Humboldt's Enigma. Now, if you are going through your GS studies, you might be aware of this name, Humboldt. And those who have geography optional, you must be aware of Mr. Humboldt, because the core area of his works relates to the field of geography. So tell us in the comment box or chat box that what is the position of Humboldt current and what is the nature of Humboldt current, whether it is cold current or warm current. Okay, so what is Humboldt's enigma? Now, the general perception is due to inclination of Earth, tropical areas received most of the sunlight. Okay, so and there is a direct correlation between the sunlight and productivity. Direct correlation between sunlight and productivity. So general concept is, and which is true, that most of the biodiversity is saturated or located within the tropics, that is between Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn. But Humboldt had a different idea. Humboldt said that apart from the tropics, mountains are another zone of biodiversity due to the variation in temperature, humidity, and altitude as you go up or come down in the mountains. So Humboldt was of opinion that apart from tropics, mountains are another zone of or cradle of biodiversity. And this aberration from the normal norm, that is biodiversity is mainly situated or saturated between the tropics, is known as Humboldt enigma. Now, to understand this even more clearly, take example of India, where we know the major biodiversity hotspot lies in the Western Ghats of India, which lies between the tropics. But the mountainous region, the Himalayan region of Northeast India, is equally biodiverse. So this phenomena, that is biodiversity, can also be found beyond the tropics, because we know that as we go away from the tropics, the biodiversity will reduce. Now the mountains are the exception, and proponent of this theory says that mountains are other saturation zone of the biodiversity, and this phenomena is known as Humboldt's enigma. Now let's take a look at the question, and then we will discuss some other concepts that have been mentioned in this news article. Okay, so biodiversity and environment is important theme from the perspective of UPSC examination. As you can see, in 2015 they have asked, they have given you the feature of a national park, and they have asked to identify the national park here, and answer was Namdafa. And they asked about national park which has climate which is varying from tropical to subtropical and Arctic up to Arctic region. So answer was Namdafa. So we have curated one MCQ specifically based on this article so that you can cover the important key terms or important substantiation that scientists have provided to prove the Humboldt enigma or to tell the cause of Humboldt enigma. So question says, with reference to Humboldt enigma, consider the following statements. Now you know enigma is related to the biodiversity. So first statement says rocks are a critical force of biodiversity. Second says coastal tropical sky island hold the oldest flora and fauna. Third says geological process results in the formation of new species. All the three statements are correct because these are the reasons what scientists give to prove Humboldt enigma or to support Humboldt enigma or to explain why there is a phenomena of Humboldt enigma. So let's take them one by one. Now, you know the mountains are heterogeneous, of heterogeneous character. Various kinds of rocks are there, and due to which various kind of soils are there. Because of various kind of rocks, the disintegration weathering process will create different kind of soils. And this different kind of soils in the same ecosystem will support or give boost to various kind of vegetation. And this is why they call it a biodiversity rich, they consider it a reason for mountain areas to be biodiversity rich because of multiple types of soil and as a result, multiple types of vegetation. The second reason that they gave a concept of coastal tropical sky island. Now, what is it? Now, they say a mountain area is characterized by or is surrounded by these low-lying valleys. So, they say these low-lying valleys, these areas are subjected to climate change and accordingly their biodiversity gets changed, the low-lying areas. But these areas which are at an elevation are immune from these abrupt climatic changes. So they boast one of the oldest kind of flora and fauna because the elevated part or the parts which are at an higher altitude remain immune from those climatic change. An example is the Shola forest, which itself is one good example of old flora, while the species like Sholicola, a bird species, is another example of old fauna, like oldest kind of flora and fauna. So this is the second reason they give. The third reason is the geological process. Now you might have learned about the ecological progression where pioneer species starts and it went up to the climax species or climax communities. So they say that formation of mountain has a process of upliftment, then weathering and all those things goes on. So they provide a bare land to start an ecological succession. Okay, and this geological process provides variety of vegetation and variety of biodiversity, and that's why these regions are biodiversity rich. And they say that since they provide a bare land to get the progression or ecological progression started, they are cradle, as well as because of being unaffected by abrupt climate changing phenomena, they are also museum of rich flora and fauna. So they are cradle also and they are museum also. So yes, all these three are reason that are provided in support or the provided as cause of Humboldt Enigma. So our answer would be C, that is all three. Now that's all from the prelims perspective. Let us move on to the mains discussion. And before that, there is an announcement that registration for pre-parikshan mock test 1 is open now. You can log in and register by using our official website, that is elearn.rauis.com. Else, the link of the registration will be provided in the chat box as well as in the description box. You can directly go to that link and register for this pre-parikshan 2024 mock test 1, which is scheduled on the 17th and 18th February 2024. So let us begin the discussion on the first news article for the mains discussion, and this is inspired from this news article which featured on page number 6 of the Hindu newspaper. Author says that in India we are not focused upon holistic or long term measures. Rather, we are more focused towards the populist approach. Author says that many a times we announce lucrative or you may say an ad hocism approach is being adopted by announcing schemes, by announcing subsidies for treatment, by announcing construction of new medical colleges and hospitals, and we are investing less or we are paying less focus on long term solution of public health care. And he has given his opinion through various examples, and he has provided some challenges therein. In our discussion, we have incorporated the challenges that has been highlighted by the author as well as some other challenges. And in way forward, we have taken up again the author's viewpoint, because most of the way forward are you yourself will understand after the discussion. So in this discussion, we will be covering the challenges related to public health sector and what author has highlighted particularly in this news article. After that, we will look into the government schemes and way forward that is being suggested by the author. As far as your syllabus is concerned, this is an important topic under the social justice theme of GS paper 2, and it clearly mentions issues relating to development and management of social sector services relating to health, education and human resources. So health is an important theme. You can gauge that by just having a look at the previous year mains question based on health sector. In 2020, they asked that in order to enhance the prospects of social development, sound and adequate healthcare policies are needed, particularly in the fields of geriatric and mental health care, which is ignored, as you know. So question is about the general condition of healthcare sector, and specific focus should be on the geriatric and maternal health care. I read it wrong. I read it mental health care. So that is also one of the component which is easily ignored in India. So another question is appropriate local community level health care intervention is a prerequisite to achieve health for all in India. That is the first port of call, your PHCs, the primary healthcare centers. In 16, they have quoted Amartya Sen and again talked about primary education and primary health care. In 2015, they asked public health system has limitation in providing universal health coverage, and you had to give your argument and suggestions to bridge this gap. So with that, we can start our discussion. But before that, we must understand that what are the if we are listening to various news that India is going to be a global hub of medical tourism and all those things, we must understand that yes, healthcare sector is growing leaps and bounds. If you will consider the potential just through data, that recently data says that in financial year 2021, the healthcare sector was estimated around 8,000 billion US dollar, which is expected to grow to 18,000 crore billion dollar by 2027. More than double. Same is the case with telemedicine, which is very crucial part of e-health program or initiative of government of India. Okay. Now, estimate says that it will cross $5 billion threshold by 2025. Now, this is just one part. We discussed about medical tourism. We all are hearing, if you will go to any metropolitan city and you will visit a big hospital, you will find nationals from various countries are there getting treatment, and it is a pleasant sight to see that it is growing. The medical sector is growing. So just to estimate the potential that this medical tourism holds, consider this data that presently it is at around $3 billion, which can grow. The estimate says that it will grow to $13.5 billion by 2025. So there is a huge potential. And we know that healthcare sector is doing good and progressing at a right pace, giving jobs and opportunity. But all these things are more related to the urban centers, the tier 1 cities. The moment you will look beyond these cities, there are challenges. You yourself will not prefer to be treated at PHCs. This is truth. You yourself will, if you have the accessibility, if you have the potential or capability in terms of money, vehicle, time, you will not prefer to get treated at district headquarters. You will not prefer to get treated at government hospital. You will prefer a big private hospital in a big city. So, are you wrong in your approach, or anyone doing that is wrong? No, because there is huge disparity in the quality of service that is being provided in tier 2 cities, district headquarters, rural areas. The quality of service that is being provided in metropolitan cities is way ahead than what is being provided in other parts of India. So let us begin our discussion with the challenges pertaining to public health sector, and here we will discuss, I will highlight what author has to say about them. So the first challenge is, like any social sector challenge like education, research, anything, funding is way too low. Now, Economic Survey of 2022 says that we have raised our government expenditure, that is public expenditure on healthcare, to 2.1%. This is data given by Economic Survey. But if you will compare it with the developed countries like Japan, France, Canada, they are spending up and above 10% of their GDP on the healthcare. Now, this low level of funding We are not considering corruption, leakages, all those things. We are considering that whatever has been allocated is reaching. This is a very low level. But this low level of funding, what it will result into? It will result into the regional disparity, and disparity is both vertical as well as horizontal. What does it mean? That if you will compare different states, there is disparity among the states as well as within the states. You can see the rural urban divide. If I can quote a data to make it more simple, that number of the percentage of anemic women, if we will consider the disparity between the state, the number of anemic women are 64% in Bihar. This is NFHS 5 data, National Family Health Service Survey 5. It says that number of anemic women in Bihar is 65%. While the state which is doing good, that is Kerala, it is 36%. Though this is not a very good number, that having 36% of women population anemic, but just to compare, that situation is even worse in other parts of country. Secondly, now funding is low. There is disparity, that among states there are disparities. Some states are doing better, some are not doing that better. Inside the state, there are disparity among rural and urban area, tier 1 cities, tier 2 cities, district headquarters and villages, or the grassroots level. Now all these things combine and affect the accessibility part. How? Because now you have you have lesser number of quality institutions or centers, and in some places, and quantity wise also there are lesser number. Then it is definitely going to affect the accessibility of healthcare services for an individual or a community. Now just how this is being affected, just consider this data, that a global practice says there should be 3 beds per 1,000 population. Now we just talked about the better doing state, that is Kerala. Okay, now just consider that even Kerala is having 1 bed for 900 people. So it is way below the global standard. And you will be amazed to know the fact that Bihar is serving, the 1 bed is serving around 8,000 people. Definitely, if there is 1 bed for 8,000 people, there is going to be issue of accessibility. Even if you want to if you want to avail the healthcare services, infra is not there. If you will talk about Uttar Pradesh, the 1 bed is serving 3,500 patients. And this is all NFHS data. So it impedes the accessibility. Now, what will happen? An estimate says that India needs to add around 24 lakh bed to achieve this 3:1,000 ratio. Now, another issue is 63% of hospitals or the healthcare sector is being dominated by private sector. 63% of hospitals are owned by private sector. Now this clearly, coupled with low insurance coverage, it affects out of pocket expenditure. Now what is out of pocket expenditure? There are some services that are covered through insurance, but there are some services where you have to pay from your side. There would be no reimbursement, like you are visiting a doctor for consultation, you are taking self medication. Now that ratio has come down from 62 to 63% roughly to the level of 47%. But problem is that government expenditure is just 41%. So out of pocket expenditure is more than the government expenditure. Another issue with the accessibility, bed is one issue, the dominance of private sector and the out of pocket expenditure. Another issue is vacancies. Just take example of rural India. Here in this picture you can see in 2021 there was vacancy of around 22% for doctors in rural primary healthcare center. Specialist 68%. So yes, when doctors just MBBS are reluctant to go specialist, why would they go? They are reluctant to serve in those areas. There is a vacancy of around 27% of auxiliary nurses and midwives in PHCs. So this is just one sector, that is rural healthcare, and you can see the vacancies. So yes, it is affecting the accessibilities. Now, the next point, which has been highlighted by author himself and is another issue related to healthcare sector in India, is preventive care. There is a lack of focus on preventive care. It is more of a reactionary measure. What does it mean? Author says, let's take example of dengue. So when dengue starts get spreading, suddenly you will see the announcement, spread of chemicals, kerosene and all those gas, fogging and all those things will start. Beds will be reserved, hospitals will be expanded, there would be reservation for dengue patient. This is all ad hocism. This is reactionary measure. Preventive measure calls for investment in bionomics to understand what are the causes, what is the long-term solution, to invest in research to find effective vaccines. So we are more focused towards the reactive approach rather than preventive care, and that is why the Bhor committee suggested to build PHCs, the primary healthcare center, as first port of call for preventive care. But latest Srinath Reddy committee also highlighted that we have not done what should have been done, and that is where we are lacking at the preventive care, and it is reflecting into the overall health outcomes. Next is the gap between the target set in policy and target being achieved. Now, as you know that Poshan Abhiyan, it focuses on holistic nourishment and it sets target upon reducing mortality by this, stunting by this, malnutrition by this. But NFHS data says that children of the age group 6 to 59 months, they saw a rise in anemic cases. Earlier, there were around 58% children who were anemic. Now it is 67%. Same is true for the women of the age group of 15 and 19. The rise is less than what children have faced, but still it is there, that it rose from 54 to 59%. So there is a gap. The target that has been set in policy and target that you are achieving. So there is a clear-cut gap between the two. Okay. Another issue that author highlights is the intricate relation between the pharmaceutical companies and the health policies. Now, author says that pharmaceutical companies has a big say in the health policies or the anything related to health sector in India. Now, he accuses pharmaceutical companies to be profit driven. He gives one example that USA and India, they both have same set of TB medicine. They both have same set of TB medicine. But the difference is that in 1 year, where India reported around 24 lakh TB cases, that is in 2022, USA reported 8,000 only. So clearly there is an issue of accessibility. There is an issue of this profit driven approach, which clearly neglects the larger horizon or scope of public health. Because same set of medicine, now India is contributing around 24 lakh case in an year, whereas same set of medicine USA just have 8,000 patients of TB. Author further says that it cannot be attributed only to the accessibility, but the aspect of sanitation, hygiene, and economic capability, socio-economic condition, all have contributed to this. So it is said that, again, the main point of the author, that we are not opting for an holistic approach. We are more towards ad hocism. Another issue is the fake doctors. Now, 80% of the rural medical practitioners, that is RMP, are not having any recognized degree. And they are the provider of the most of the outpatient care in rural area. This is another challenge of the public health. Now, as we know, government has initiated several schemes and initiative to boost the public healthcare system in India. You can refer to the PDF to read about these initiatives in detail. And you also might have understood the way forward, that is funding should be the reverse of the challenges, that funding should be raised. We should work on the mitigating the regional disparity, accessibility aspect by recruiting and increasing the number of beds, coverage of insurance, all those things. Very good suggestion from the author that I want to, you will get all these way forward in the PDF. What author has said, suggested as a measure to, as a way forward to improve upon public health care is very important. And he says that he take reference of atomic energy sector and the space exploration sector, that is ISRO. He says these departments directly come under the Prime Minister's office. And he says they have a desired level of autonomy, and that's why they are doing better. So author suggests that autonomy should be there. Health, the Ministry of Health should be clubbed under the Prime Minister's office, and autonomy should be provided so that the policy making and their application can be more scientific and data oriented. So he talks about autonomy for long-term vision, for long-term solutions, and scientific and data oriented approach. And he gives example of the atomic energy sector and ISRO, and says that these institutions are successful in their endeavors, and we can improve the healthcare sector by opting the same for the health ministry or healthcare sector. So that brings us to the second topic of mains discussion, which is related to the Foreign Secretary's visit to Bhutan, Mr. Vinay Quatra. And recently elections has been held in Bhutan, and the oath taking ceremony has also took place. And after that, a 3-day visit by the Foreign Secretary holds important. And we know that India and Bhutan share an age-old friendship, which is basically based on mutual trust, goodwill, and understanding. Now, the basic framework of this understanding or bilateral relation is a friendship treaty which was signed in the year 1949 and it was recently renewed in the year 2007. It provides for the basic framework of the relation between India and Bhutan. Now, this news is important from the perspective of UPSC. As you can see here, GS paper 2, the international relation part, India and its neighborhood relation, bilateral, regional and global groupings and agreements involving India and affecting India's interest. So in this discussion, we will look into the areas of cooperation between the Bhutan and India, and some recent challenges that we are facing and that we should be concerned about. And we will end our discussion with the way forward. So, areas of cooperation between India and Bhutan, which are also reflection of the close ties between the two countries. So, first is trade and economy. Now, India is the largest overall trade partner of Bhutan. Bhutan is a landlocked country and almost 80% of Bhutan trade is with India. India is the largest destination for exports from Bhutan and the largest source of import for Bhutan. What is good for India is this, for the obvious reasons, for a landlocked mountainous country, that this trade is more balanced or tilted towards or in favor of India. Okay, so that is the first linkage that we share. Then India has been providing financial assistance and for the development of various socio-economic spheres in Bhutan since their first 5-year plan, which came in the year 1960. We are talking about Bhutan's first 5-year plan. Okay, and India has been assisting various projects related to agriculture, irrigation, industries, health, education, etc. So, India has a very big role in upgrading or strengthening the infrastructure or the socio-economic indices of Bhutan. Next is the pillar, a very important pillar and very, you may say, always in news. You might have heard about the hydropower cooperation. It is one of the basic pillar of the relation between India and Bhutan. India finances various hydroelectric power projects in Bhutan, and presently 4 operational hydroelectric power projects are there, which are producing around 2000 megawatt of electricity, of which India is a buyer. India buys electricity from these plants. So Bhutan is getting electricity as well as revenue through the assistance of India financially as well as technological assistance in construction of these hydropower projects. Second, fourth point is the cultural ties, the cooperation. Now, Buddhism is the common thread which binds two countries. Now, you know that there are several pilgrimage sites in India, like Rajgir, Bodh Gaya, and Sikkim, Lumbini border, that Nepal border. These sites are frequented by a large number of Bhutanese nationals. And it is not about revenue, it is about they revere India as their root of their revered religion. So that is another factor of strong cultural ties or strong bilateral ties. Further, India and Bhutan had signed a treaty in the year 2007 which mandates India to protect the territorial claims of Bhutan as well as sovereignty of Bhutan. And that's why India intervened from the side of Bhutan in the Doklam crisis. Because India, through this treaty, is kind of a security provider to the Bhutan. And this again, a field, or you may say, strengthens the bilateral ties between the two countries. Another area which has recently evolved is this area of space cooperation. And in the year 2020, an MOU was signed between Bhutan and India for peaceful use of outer space. Further, they have also an agreement to develop a small satellite in collaboration, India and Bhutan, for Bhutan. And in the year 2022, ISRO has launched India-Bhutan satellite through its PSLV spacecraft. So these are the areas of cooperation ranging from trade, socio-economic assistance, hydropower, cultural, defense, as well as space. So cooperation is wide, vibrant, and diversified, and very strong and time tested. What are the challenges then? Challenges lies, as you saw, that India has been providing assistance to Bhutan in their various projects. One of the issue is changing nature of aids, what India is providing to Bhutan. Now you can take one example that earlier, for their hydropower project, India used to provide 60% grant and 40% loan. But now, whatever India is providing is in shape of 70% loan and 30% grant. Now, for a landlocked small country, this interest, the loan that comes with interest, might be concerning. Okay, and it may result into them searching for alternative in the future for the funding of their projects. So it is a concerning issue which of lately India is also recognizing because of the growing Bhutan-China bonhomie. Other reason is that they had meeting, the Bhutan and China, for settling their territorial boundaries, and even after that, China has claimed rights over the Sakteng region, Sakteng, Sakteng region of Bhutan, which is again concerning for India. Now, Bhutan has also established the diplomatic relation with China, and it is the latest entrant from South Asian countries which is going to have relation, and neighbor of India which is going to have relation with China. So such loopholes can prove a challenge, like giving funding or supporting economically in shape of loans may prove challenging in future because China is making inroads in Bhutan. Another issue, not an issue but a decision by Bhutan, which was concerning for Indian side, was the withdrawal of Bhutan from the BBIN project. Now, BBIN was a connectivity project between Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, and Nepal. And for any country to have a good neighborhood relation, the connectivity is the basic bedrock and prerequisite. And Bhutan withdrew from this project by citing ecological issues, that pollution would be there and it will destroy their environment and living standards. So Bhutan withdrew, and which came as a shocker because India always considered Bhutan as a partner who will be part of this project. So these are some latest challenges and these are areas of cooperation. So way forward is quite simple. as you know that we need to explore new areas of cooperation. New areas of cooperation. So the setting up of ISRO's ground station in Bhutan is a welcome step. Further, safety of border, because you just saw that they had a border talk, but the Chinese lay claim to the Sakteng region. So safety of border from China is a concern for both the nation. So both sides need to work together on this issue. Also, it needs to be ensured that border areas remain militant free. Okay, because the northeast it shares border with the northeastern states and many militant group. The preferred route is jumping towards Myanmar, but Bhutan is not. Bhutan is also not immune from that problem because militants prefer to jump to Bhutan also. As we told, the BBIN project, so enhanced connectivity, which is central pillar of India's neighborhood first and act east policy. So they must have enhanced connectivity. Then the method or the proportion of aids for the hydropower projects, as we saw, 70% loan, 30% grant, that should also be considered and should be mitigated in time. So that's all for the mains perspective. Now we will move to discuss the summary part, and the first summary that we have taken up today is based on this news article, which talks about the nutrition, the early nutrition impacts on cognitive development. Now, author says, though we all know that author says that stunting. Now, what is stunting? Stunting is the height of child is not or is way less than what is ideal for their age. This is stunting. So author says that stunting has a direct correlation with the cognitive ability. An author says even WHO agrees to this, that yes, it affects the cognitive ability, but author says how it affects the cognitive ability, the mechanism or the process is still unknown. So fact is well established that stunting will affect cognitive ability, but how it will affect, what is the process, it is still unknown. So this article is about that, and author gives some reasons why it is the process, the mechanism is still unknown, especially in India. Because author says that whenever we check the knowledge, or you may say the cognitive ability, we focus on the reading skill, the skill related to mathematics, and skill related to vocabulary. Now he says that NCRT or Asar report of Pratham, they all focus on reading, mathematics, that is reasoning, and vocabulary. Now author says this knowledge, this lack of knowledge can be due to lower cognitive ability, or maybe due to lack of accessibility altogether. So these methodologies are not fit to segregate whether a student who is lacking in all these things are facing challenge at the level of cognitive ability or at the level of accessibility. He or she may not have received the level of education that could have made him or her to do all these things or to pass the standard. So he is saying that the methodologies that we are opting are not optimal to gauge the cognitive ability, because these lacking can be can be due to any reason. For this he quotes a recent study done in Ethiopia and Peru by Sanchez. And he says this study has a methodology which talks about the cognitive ability, because the indices that they are covering are related to the cognitive ability of a student. So what are the indices? Indices are working memory. What is working memory? It is retention of small amount of information in readily accessible form. So retention of small information in readily, you will ask and you will immediately get a simple short answer. Another is inhibitory control. It gauges, if you have gone through ethics, in crude terms, it gauges your emotional intelligence. How you are behaving, how you are reacting, how you are controlling your emotions to adapt towards your social or social environment. This is what inhibitory control. So this study covers or gauges the indices of working memory, inhibitory memory, long-term memory, and implicit learning. That is to understand complex, what we say in crude term, between the lines. So the implicit learning. So this study, author says, should be adopted in India also, this kind of study, to understand the correlation or to understand at first place that person is facing a lack of cognitive skill altogether. Okay. And to improve, he says that India has two dedicated programs, that is POSHAN and ICDS, that is Integrated Child Development Scheme. And he says that both of these schemes are significantly doing well in providing nutritional security to the child. So apart from that, he suggests a three-step strategy which includes promotion of early breastfeeding along with continued breastfeeding for 2 years coupled with appropriate complementary feeding starting at 6 months is essential. Further, he says that diversifying diet of growing up children becomes crucial, because you will not diversify, then the person is not going to receive the required number of nutrition or required quality of nutrition with the growing the demand of the growing age. So India should implement and scale up community based complementary feeding programs. Now author further take example of experiment that has been done in the state of Tamil Nadu, and he says that adding an extra Anganwadi worker to each Anganwadi center could help in achieving better nutritional security and thus the better cognitive ability. And he says that Tamil Nadu government has done this, adding one single Anganwadi worker to each Anganwadi center has given very positive results. The next summary is based on this news article which featured on page number 13 of the Indian Express newspaper, and it is about memorandum of understanding which is signed between the Central Marine Fisheries Research Institute, that is CMFRI, and Delhi based Neat Meat Biotech. And what they will grow fish meat in a laboratory. So how they will do this? They will isolate specific cell from fish, and then they will grow this fish in laboratory using biotechnology. So they will isolate a cell, and then with the help of that cell, with the use of biotechnology, they will create a fish in the laboratory. Okay. Now, how it would be like in character? They are saying that experiments and the world experiments or the production has shown that the fish that will be created in laboratory will have the same flavor, same texture, as well as same nutritional values that of the fish that is being grown in sea or marine area or rivers or anywhere. So why this study is important, why this finding is important, or why growing the seafood in lab is important? There are 2-3 reasons for it. First, if you are growing it in lab and having similar features, same nutritional value, same texture, same flavor, you are reducing burden on natural resources. So the replenishment of those resources which have been discriminately utilized or exploited, the time will be there. Second is, the second significance, it will add on to the food security. Now, if you are lacking the natural resources, or if you are lacking the natural resources of marine fish, you can grow it in lab, and that will contribute to the food security. The third and very important significance of growing a fish in lab is that we are the reason for the contamination of fish. So we will not say that contaminated fish, the fish that we have contaminated. So it will also help in mitigation of that phenomena. That lab, it will be free from contamination, pollution, the plastic pollution, and those things which are going inside us after consuming, and thus in the food chain. So it would be contamination and pollution free. So these are the 3 major, you may say, benefits of growing fish in the laboratory by isolating a specific cell and growing it there. So you can further, he substantiates his argument by giving some empirical evidences and says that other countries are doing. Israel is the front runner, followed by Singapore and United States and China. These countries are already doing. So it is a proven methodology which is safe and have yielded result also. Further, in providing the empirical evidence, author gives reference to a study by Good Food Institute, which illustrate the increasing investment in the lab grown meat industry. So which is again proven empirical evidence which shows that the market is growing, investment is growing, demand is growing, and acceptability is also growing. So you can go through the PDF to cover the topic in entirety. Let's move on to the last topic of today's discussion. That is also a summary. We have taken inspiration from the news which appeared on Business Line, page number 6, and which talks about green aviation fuel or sustainable aviation fuel. Now, author says that in 2023, our aviation minister received a flight in New Delhi, which was New Delhi bound from Pune, and which used the sustainable aviation fuel, which what is it? It is blended fuel, as we are listening, ethanol blending and all those things. So it was 1% ethanol blended fuel with the aviation fuel, and which has same properties and same characteristic as that of aviation fuel. So while receiving this flight, minister said that we are targeting more, and by 2022 25 we will target 1% of all the fuel being blended. But author says nothing much has been done, and this step is very important. Why we need this sustainable aviation fuel? Author says that we all have intended commitments to decarbonize the environment, and greenhouse gas emission is one of the major part of it. And author says that out of the total greenhouse gas emission, around 3% of GHGs are being released by aviation sector, especially the long haul flights. So to address this completely, the decarbonization or the removal of greenhouse gases, aviation sector should also be considered as a priority, because they are contributing good 3% in the total GHG emission. Now, author says there are issues related to the technologies, and says that ethanol blending or the alcohol based blending would be the most suitable way of way forward for India. So she suggests that ethanol blending should be the way forward, and she emphasizes on the collaboration and cooperation between the aviation ministry as well as the petroleum ministry. Further, it says that the challenge is the technology. Second, it says the price of the fuel is nearly a global, this is a global tendency, may vary region to region, 2 to 3 times more than the conventional aviation fuel, just because of the high cost of the feedstocks. Feedstocks like sugarcane, agriculture residues, used cooking oil, all these are very costly. So generally, the aviation fuel costs 2 to 3 times more than the usual fuel. And fuel is the one of the major component of the aviation sector, which decides upon the fare and operational cost of the airlines. So author says that definitely bringing down this cost is very important in order to make the aviation sector, or to keep the aviation sector viable and accessible. Because if you will keep on purchasing at this rate, definitely the ticket rates would be high, and the overall operational cost would be high. So there should be provisions from government to provide that viable gap funding and all those things, all supports. And along with that, author says the projection of Indian aviation sector that it is going to grow at a faster pace, and India's position in terms of the feedstock that it has as a raw material for sustainable aviation fuel. India has a good prospect of going this way, and this is an important or pertinent step that India must take to fulfill its commitment of decarbonization or ending of the greenhouse gases. You can refer to the article through PDF. The important points, key takeaways has been enlisted in that PDF. That's all for today's discussion. Please, if you find this discussion, this initiative helpful, do like and subscribe the channel and share the video with your friends and peer groups. You can drop your doubts in the comment box. Our team will get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you for being here. Have a nice evening.